as my vocal teachers say, you have to make sure you warm up your muscles before you go to the gym, before you go for a run, before you do anything, really. That is my mantra. That helps a lot because I never start any type of vocal activity without warming up at least a little bit.
Ghost Cult Magazine welcomes in Lena Scissorhands. How are you doing today?
Hi, doing good. It's an interesting day, but I'm here, so.
I'm so glad you're here, of course, from Infected Rain and other projects. And we're here today. The Devil's Dozen DVD and live album is out today. Congratulations, first of all.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
It's kind of funny reflecting back now on the worst time ever in our existence and how live streams were, kind of a saving grace and really a way for artists to connect with their fans. And I said this to your publicist before we connected that in my mind, Infected Rain, one of the strengths of the band is live. I've been lucky enough to see the band live a few times, and we covered the tour. We've covered one of the tours for Ghost Cult, and just you're so strong as a whole band live. So I know how hard it must have been to be not able to perform and tour and be cut off from your fans. So I wanted to start there before we talk about the performances and the live album and the tracks. I wanted to kind of talk about what a tough time it was and how you guys coped.
Well, I definitely went through different phases, definitely, but I'm trying my best not to complain because I do know and I've seen with my own eyes musicians that lost connections with their managers, producers, labels during that time. It was very hard, and I'm sure it was hard on all the people that work behind the curtains with musicians as well. So they had to make some harsh decisions. Well, we kept it strong, and that, I guess, is what helped us a lot. It was a very strong bond between the label, the management, the band, and the fans. All those together helped so much, actually believing that what we can do, what's in our power at the moment, is good enough, and not to get into the vortex of depression, which was going on no matter what. But it's even harder when you are cut off from work. That means you can pay your bills. That means you can invest in your career. That means you don't have the outlet you always had through your career. There are so many factors. And I mean, I'm not going to lie, in the beginning, it took the best of me, for sure. I wasn't doing very well because it so happened that in 2019, I was having some changes in my personal life, and that followed right after. So I ended up completely alone, no friends, no family, no bandmates, nobody. It was just me and my dog, to be honest. And luckily I had at least my dog, because it was hard. But eventually, understanding that this might take a while was hard, but also gave us the reason to put our sleeves up and actually do some work. And in fact, one of the best thing that happened during the pandemic is I've built with my own hands a vocal studio in my house, and I invested in equipment, and I just started working a lot. I think between last year and the prior year and this year, like let's say in the past 2 years and a half, at least, I've probably released and record. There are some things that were not released yet, more music than I've ever done in years, honestly, because I was just taking everything. I've done a lot of collaborations for free. I've done a lot of collaborations with people that could actually contribute and to the work I put in. But my goal was to stay busy because it was just so difficult. And we all know that the show business industry was the last one to go back to work. All other, family members that I have, or other people that I know from other countries that are my friends, they all got back to work, like, I don't know, almost right away after like the first lockdown. I think another month or two, and they slowly started getting back to work. So, I had to come up with an idea, and I did, and I'm very happy. I'm very thankful for this insane tragedy that happened to the entire planet. I'm trying to see the positive in it, and I've done a lot of positive while having the tough. Yes, so that's pretty much it, but I'm sure it was the same for all the other musicians around the planet.
Right on. Thank you for sharing, first of all, how I know how difficult that must have been, and thank you. It was, and we, of course, selfishly, we are looking through the lens for ourselves in the music business. Of course, people lost their lives, people lost their jobs and their careers. There's a war going on right now. There's a lot of problems in the world, and we have our little sphere that we stress about. But I do appreciate what you went through and how hard it was, and I thank you for sharing. And I was going to say, one of the things you're also really great at is social media. And I think before the pandemic happened, we all were, and even now, we're still trying to live our best lives on Instagram and look happy and look like we're doing stuff. Look, I'm hiking, look, I'm at a show, look, I'm with my friends. But, there's a lot of pain out there, and there's a lot of people who are not living their best lives, and they're
Yeah,
pretending,
absolutely, including musicians.
including
Absolutely.
musicians.
I understand that every single life has its ups and downs. Every single era we live in has its ups and downs. Unfortunately, people's greediness and entitlement bring to unfortunate events like wars or riots that end up badly. Even this pandemic, even this big, big depression that we were all going through is our doing. It really is. So what I'm trying to say here is, if you worry about it that much, make small changes, at least changes that are in your power. So I try to do those changes if I can. And the biggest, I guess, the biggest involvement I can do from my side is being in music, giving music to people, because music helps so much. It helps me, and I know it helps everybody on the planet.
Right on. And I would say, just going through your fan comments in places like Bandcamp and social media, you guys mean so much to your fans. So I know it must have been weird to put on an entire concert without them in the room, but
Oh
you
yeah,
guys performed as if it was a show full of people, which I thought was wonderful.
thank you. It was definitely challenging. I mean, we had, of course, the crew that was involved. I don't have a specific number of how many people were there, but let's say roughly 10 people between the crew and some partners of my musicians and stuff like that, which we are very grateful, because everybody helped as much as they could. So the thing is, it's really interesting, because in the beginning I was like so nervous. In fact, I don't know if it's like that obvious to everybody, but me knowing my sound and knowing my body and knowing how my vocal cords can perform, I would say that I could feel a little bit. It's pretty obvious that I'm nervous. I wish I wasn't that nervous. I don't know why I was that nervous, because technically we could, if something was not going well, we could do it again and stuff like that, because it was filmed. It was pre-filmed. It wasn't a live stream like a lot of bands did. We were very afraid to have, technical difficulties, being from, different countries, and we just wanted a good quality product to be out there, and we don't want people to have the problems with, connection, or I don't know, availability in that specific moment, everywhere on the planet. So that's why we decided to actually film it, edit the visual footage, and put it out there together with all the live tracks that we recorded whilst actually performing. And now, of course, but like out of 21 songs that was in that crazy set list, I think we played twice, 4 songs maybe. I don't want to be, I wouldn't like 100% give it to you, but either 4 or 5. So things were going really nicely. Things were great. And honestly, often I could get distracted with the crowd because something's going on in the crowd, and I could much likely forget a word on an actual live show than on that one. You know what I'm saying? Because nothing distracts you. There's lights, and you are within you, with you, giving you, if that makes sense. So it has its own good qualities as well. I guess I'm trying to see good in everything. I'm trying. I don't always succeed, but I'm trying.
I get that. I'm guilty of that too. I think we all are. I could not tell if you were nervous, and I feel like you're always, you have a really great poise when you're on stage, and I
Thank
think that that's apparent to anyone who sees you perform. And I think you are in control of yourself, and it was clear there was a nice chemistry with the band anyway. And maybe if there was an audience there live, you would sing a little more to them. But like I thought it was excellent. Performance was great. Vocals
thank
were amazing. I could go so long on just your vocals and vocal style and talk about the band instrumentation. It was a
you.
really killer performance, honoring 15 years now of the
Yeah,
band. You had a new record about to come out. You played some new stuff. I thought it was really well done. And I think honestly, the choice you made to do it, I watched so many of these live streams, and the technology, we out of necessity. I used to joke about Zoom, right? I never used Zoom before the pandemic, and then on March 1st, 2020, there was like 100,000 people on Zoom, and then on April 1st, it was 2 million signed
yeah,
up for Zoom. So like we were just forced into this stuff
yeah,
to
yeah,
adapt to technology, and it's the same for bands. So I watched many of these, the biggest bands in the world, Metallica, Architects. They did these incredible live in the moment with a live streaming component in front of people globally, and they were wonderful, but they had problems. And so I think this was, like Trivium did this, and Seven Dust did this,
yeah.
and
So
edited
many,
like you
yeah,
did, perform, edit, release. And I think that's
yeah,
a much better way to keep it consistent for everybody, because people will love to complain, and they, whenever you're giving a service, they get grumpy about like, oh, it
or-
cuts out, or it's slow, or it's lagging. It's like, I know, no, everybody's computer and internet is a whole snowflake, right? Different. So,
yeah,
and in terms of the set list, again, just a very long set list, more than you would even normally play in a headline tour, I think.
yeah.
What were the challenges? Just again, you said you performed only a few things twice, but just playing that long, under that circumstance, was there like additional challenges beyond a regular concert for you
Well,
guys?
yes, absolutely. It was insanely hot. So unfortunately, the place where we built that entire stage with its production is this place where you can rent the space for events or for shows. I don't know if the problem was bad air circulation, so like bad AC units or anything like that. It was hard to tell because we had so much light, extra light, that it almost felt like we were performing in a sauna. In fact, I had to wipe my face like a cup, like after every single song. Really, I needed that like 1 second, open the mirror and make sure that you don't drip sweat from your face everywhere. You know what I mean? That was definitely very challenging. Other than that, I mean, we were pretty ready, and we weren't tired. Like on tour, the biggest challenge to play this big set list is because you have a show every day, so you need time to recover. So we weren't that exhausted, that tired like you could be on tour, no matter what your tour conditions are and how luxurious your sleeping place is, and what are the tricks that you do to sleep better, whatever. Everybody is it's everybody is unique in its own way, and but no matter what you do, being on stage for 1 hour, let's say like that, every day, is such an intense cardio that I don't know, it can be compared with running like super big distances, because not only you move a lot, you are in the same room with a lot of people, often very small clubs. For example, in the summer, often we choose to play in smaller clubs between festivals because, you know, we are driving through that city anyway, so why not? Even if people don't really like club shows in the summer, we still do it, even if it's for a smaller crowd, you know. And it's hard, it really is hard, because some buildings, especially in Europe, are hundreds of years old. And no matter how many fans they put in that room with you and a sold out show, even if we're talking about 300 people, for example, it's a lot. It's so much that I start sweating before I even go on stage. So that is dehydration, and that gives a lot of pain to your muscles, and it is in a way of you performing. That's why bands don't normally perform very big set lists, no matter what kind of a tour, unless it is a specifically dedicated to something. Like, for example, this one band goes only alone on tour. And for example, we've done it even in Russia, actually. We went on tour alone, and our set list was way longer because we had no opening bands. But we did try our best to have more days off in between, because, as I said, it's super challenging. And the roads in Russia were challenging as well, because, you know, they are not all of them are up to standards, unless we're talking about big cities. Russia is gigantic, just like United States, but unfortunately certain roads between like smaller cities can be very challenging, and you can't even like really have a good night's sleep. It's a really, I can talk about touring life forever. I don't want to bore anybody. And I also don't want you guys to mistake it for complaining. I'm not complaining. I'm just explaining why probably performing a longer set list was less challenging for this specific show, even though it was very hot. And, you know, we had certain little things here and there, but we weren't exhausted. We were prepared. We rested the day before and the day after, so it was nice, you know.
Nice. I appreciate that. And if just for a second about your vocals, because you're, you know, one of your trademarks is to be able to switch between your vocal styles effortlessly. And so because there wasn't I'm sure you had plenty of rehearsal before the recording of the live stream concert, but also you were not on tour a lot before that. So was there a, you know, how to get yourself into performing shape to be able to do what you do?
So, I mean, it's not like I had to, it's not like I did something specific to get in shape. I was just trying to keep up with my gym routine. And, you know, when we were rehearsing, I was trying not to have too many breaks between songs, just so my body gets used to that momentum of like, okay, one song is over, breathe, next one. Breathe, next one. Not a big pause to go to the bathroom or wash your face, or like you would normally do with rehearsals, you know. So that's the only thing that I did, really. That was my only request to my musicians to do, so I can see how much in a row I can do. But as I said, even because we knew we are filming this, that part did not stress me out as much, because I knew that if for some reason I need a second, it's not going to be the end of the world, you know, or anybody else in the band. You know, I'm not diminishing the work of the other musicians. What they do is so hard, so hard. And, you know, sometimes, you know, they need a second.
To play the stuff Infected Rain does, you would need several seconds is allowable. It's very challenging stuff across the board for the whole band. I have you here, so I have the luxury of talking to you about vocals. The entire band, again, people watching this, go watch the DVD, go listen to the record on Bandcamp, go buy it. It's amazing, fantastic performances, especially really capturing the 3 albums from the band so far. And
Yeah.
I was going to ask you, just aside from everything, do you sing every day? I've been interviewing a lot of guitar players who tell me they have to play every day. Do you have to sing every single day?
I don't have to, but I have to be very cautious, because my instrument is a muscle. So just like any muscle, if you don't exercise it, after a while, you know, it starts giving you trouble. Now, what does it mean? That means soreness. That means how much you can perform. That means, just like I mentioned, it is a lot of cardio. So if your body is not ready for that cardio, you can just go for a run if you never trained or you never got ready, because your entire body will hate you. It is actually dangerous. You can go to the hospital after that. It's super easy, this easy, because we are talking about heartbeat. We are talking about, your entire body moves, and all our organs, they move inside. We have some organs that are not even attached to anything. Have you ever thought about that? I mean, and we jump on stage, we don't run, but we jump, and then my instrument is my body. So sometimes even just standing still and singing can tire you out. But imagine if you try to engage, with some movements as well. So yeah, I mean, I tried to do that, and then other than that, I didn't really, just rehearsing. That was it. But that's when it comes to the DVD. Now, in my everyday life, as I mentioned before, I have a vocal studio in the house. So I often either record for my band, for the new band I just joined last year, or other featurings, or I just rehearse the old songs because I have the tracks and I can just do that for a little bit just to, I guess, stay in shape. Does that make sense? As my vocal teachers say, you have to make sure you warm up your muscles before you go to the gym, before you go for a run, before you do anything, really. So that is my like my mantra. That helps a lot because I never start any type of vocal activity without warming up at least a little bit. So yeah, like I recorded yesterday, for example. It wasn't my plan to finish it today, but unfortunately I woke up not feeling fantastic. So I have to be kind to my body. Otherwise I won't be able to, record for longer. So
I get that. I just have a few more questions for you. You've been marvelous. Thank you so much.
Mhm.
I do want to count. I mentioned again, I did a little deep dive. I love to, before I interview an artist, I listen to the whole discography if I can. And like I said, I went through all the comments. My favorite comment on Bandcamp for the band is that Freaky Carnival is the song of the decade for that person. And I was like, it is. And I know it's kind of like one of the songs that people expect when they come to see you live. Do you have
they do.
they really do. They wait for it. If you don't play it, they'll let you know. I have a feeling.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. There's a couple of songs like that that are
Yeah.
older songs that people still expect us to play. And that is good and bad. In a way, it's very good because, that for sure that song speaks volume to that person and that it means a lot. However, on the other hand, I wish people were a little bit more understanding. We are recording new material constantly, at least once every 2 years. Actually, so far, I think always, especially for the past 3 albums, we've been giving an album every 2 years. In fact, right now we are working on a new album that will come out next year in the beginning of the year. And it's a constant work because it requires so much to compose, to put things together, to record, and then to put artwork together, and then finally to print it. And not being able to sing your newer songs just because people are so attached to older after you put all that work doesn't make sense, right? So we need to introduce people to the newer songs, and eventually some of the old songs, we put them in our backpack for later. Let's say that.
Right on. And that's wonderful. You heard it here first. New Infected Rain next year. Very exciting. And we'll be here for it. Just for a final question, I always like to end with a fun wild card question. So for you, I have this one, which is, congratulations on 15 years as a band this year in
Thank you.
2023. If you could go back to yourself in 2007, before you began with Infected Rain or before you began in music, what advice would you give yourself?
I guess the only advice that I could give to that super green and young musician, to, I don't know, it's just to believe in yourself more, because nobody else will if you don't. And I was definitely struggling the first some years of the Infected Rain's career, because not having experience as a musician and not having school as musician put so much doubt in, I put so much doubt in myself because there were some comments here and there that weren't pleasant enough, and I was very young and I took them to personal, and that definitely did not help. It was only doing worse when it comes to how I compose, how I record, how I perform, how I look. Literally, people constantly have something to say about that, constantly. So even now, the difference between now and then is that I don't really care. When it becomes funny, I'll even post it, like I did the other day, something regarding, you know, oh, you don't come to our country, I'm not gonna follow you anymore. Okay. You know what I mean? Like if it was the younger me back in the day, I would have taken it like almost like everything is my fault, you know, and it's not healthy. It's not healthy. So if I could change that one thing, everything else, it's fine the way it is, you know. Everybody should make their own mistakes and their own path to where they're going. And I think, you know, I think we did. I mean, we still are, but like back then and for many years after, for 10 years, we've been independent and we were doing our own decisions, our own mistakes, our own successes. Everything was only thanks to the hard work and the stubbornness of all of us. You know.
Indeed. Wise words from the great Lena Scissorhands. Thank you so much for sharing this time
Thank
with
you for
Ghost
having me.
Cult.
Thank you.
I really appreciate getting the chat with you today. The Devil's Dozen live stream DVD live album out now on Napalm Records. Thank you so much. Congratulations on everything, and we're really looking forward to the future as well from Infected Rain. Thank you, Lena.
Thank you so much.